Welcome to the Let's Get Vulnerable podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Morgan, and today's guest is a very, very special person. She is a graduate of the Empowered.Secure.Loved program. She has such a big heart. She has an incredible story of healing and creating her best life. Will you please help me welcome my client, Zoe? Zoe, welcome to the show.
Hi, everyone.
I am so excited to have you here.
I'm so excited to be here. I keep freaking out.
Yes, you have been just a long time part of the community in terms of
Mhm.
following the podcast, being part of the community,
Yeah.
joining the program, staying in our membership after the program, and then
hmm
doing VIP one-on-one work with me. So you
Yep.
have been part of the world here, the community, for a really long time, and I've had the pleasure of getting to really know you personally.
Mm.
So I'm excited for this interview.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm so excited to be here. Sorry, God, I flipped
And
it on.
you and I were talking before we started about you've been digging up things from the past,
Yeah.
you said you looked at your
Journals.
initial application call, like the
hmm
the app that you filled out, and then you were looking finding
Yeah.
your old journals. You
Yeah.
have such a juicy story. Let's just dive in.
Okay.
Can you take us to I just kind of want to start from even the beginning with you of like childhood Zoe and obviously I know we're not going to get into all the details, but just give us an
hmm
idea of growing up and what you were experiencing in relationships.
Okay. Yeah. So I grew up, I have two younger sisters and my mom and dad. And my parents were married until they divorced when I was 12. But my extended family on both sides, I'm really close with all of my cousins. So I'm really grateful to the adults in my life that raised us that put in the effort because as an adult now, I'm realizing how much effort that actually takes to get us squirrely kids all together. Um, family is huge for me. And I didn't realize it for a very long time, but I was definitely a parentified child. I'm the oldest daughter of three. And it kind of felt like if I didn't take care of my sisters, no one else would. Because of that, I think the break in my parents' marriage and then just the insecurity and not knowing like what was going to happen all the time and so I developed a lot of like codependent, people pleasing, perfectionist, controlling like tendencies and personalities. And really just to like make myself safe, but also to like create a safe world for my sisters.
So lots of over functioning,
hmm
over giving,
Yeah.
people pleasing. And I think for like so many of us that go through childhood trauma like this, where you don't even realize it's happening, it just becomes your survival mechanism and
hmm
you're taking care of everybody, making
Yeah.
sure everybody's okay. Um,
Self
how do you feel
abandoning.
like, yeah, self-abandoning? How did this impact your own self-worth and confidence and self-esteem?
Well, okay, so this is crazy because I've been reflecting on this. And for me, before like digging into it in therapy, I would have said that I was super confident. I've always been really outgoing and like bubbly, social butterfly. Um, and I was like, I had an amazing childhood. And then I dig into it in therapy and I'm like, oh my God, there's so many things here that I didn't realize I was carrying all these really heavy things. I blamed myself for my parents' divorce because if I hadn't done XYZ, this wouldn't have happened and my parents wouldn't have gotten divorced. And, um,
Mm-hmm.
and I think like going into relationships, I took on the beliefs that I had to perform to be loved. I wasn't worthy, like innately worthy, which I feel like a lot of women deal with. And that's a big freaking lie. Um, but my two biggest were not feeling worthy and feeling like I had to earn love. So that was where like the overperforming, overachieving, overgiving, self-abandoning, people pleasing, environment monitoring, like
Yes,
I'm very
hypervigilant.
empathic.
Yes.
Yeah, super empathic, but to a fault. Like I can feel a change in the next room if someone gets upset.
Yeah.
Like So I'm always monitoring. And I didn't even realize I was doing it because I'd been doing it for so long. It was just
Yeah.
how I was. And until I really realized how exhausting and taxing and hard that was, like on my body and my system, like I didn't realize it wasn't what I was supposed to do. I just thought this is how I operate, this is how I stay safe. And these are like subconscious thoughts. Like they're not like I'm not really thinking, "Oh yeah, how am I going to stay safe? I'm going to make sure my sisters listen to me because I know what's best." No. Like it was all subconscious to a very like crazy degree. And I think that's part of why like therapy was so helpful. And I mean, I didn't start therapy until I was processing my decision to get divorced. Um, and so, yeah, it brought up a lot of things that I was just really unaware of and really had like buried deep inside myself.
Yes. And let's go to that place then of okay, before joining the program,
Mhm.
and I know you were, I think, listening to the podcast before you joined.
I wasn't actually.
You didn't?
I
How
think
did you
I'm one
find
of
this?
your only clients that did not listen to the podcast first.
How did you
Because I've
find us?
listened to like all 500 plus episodes, and everyone's like, I've been here. I was on the podcast first. And I was like, this was amazing. So then I wanted to do the program. No, I connected with you on Instagram.
Oh, it was Instagram. Okay.
And
It's one of the
yeah,
two.
and I got into attachment theory through a different page. I did this like webinar on like
Cool.
saving your marriage by yourself.
Oh.
um, and they talked about attachment theory. And so then I was like, oh, so interested in that. And then the algorithm blessed me with your page. And I just started following you. And I think like I almost set up a breakthrough session like 4 or 5 times before I actually did it.
Yeah.
And yeah, that was just wild.
And then when you finally applied, I know you said you found your application.
Hmm.
Tell us about where you were at and what
Yeah.
brought you to that place of applying.
Do you want me to read my answers?
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. So the first question is, what is going on in your relationship life currently? And what is painful about your current situation? And so this is about a year after my divorce was finalized. So I'd been in therapy about a year and a half. So I said, I'm currently feeling like I want to start dating again since my divorce finalized November of last year. I've taken the time through my divorce and after to dive into therapy and seek to learn from my role in our divorce and to just heal from it too. I married my ex at 20. We divorced last year after 8 years when I was 28, and I've been single slash not dating at all since. Through therapy, I've been addressing and challenging my core beliefs and also codependency that's present in my relationships with my mom and sisters. I've also been diagnosed with ADHD in the last 4 months. So working through the emotions of that working through the emotions that surround that and looking for the tools and help I can find to help with that has been another journey. I would say that what's painful about my current situation is one, I'm the only one in my family going to therapy, and I feel a great emotional burden doing it alone. I want to date again, but I feel so intimidated by that prospect because I feel so inexperienced. My ex husband was my first long term relationship, and I married him at 20. So when everyone else is in college and like dating and living life or whatever, I was like already married, bought a house at 23. Is insane. Um, thank you, Army. Shout out. My third point was I really want to be a mom, and I feel really sad and unfulfilled knowing that I have to put that off further. And that was like just because the divorce, you really just start all over again. I said sometimes I feel stuck and I hate that it comes to finances. I'm currently waiting for my ex husband to refinance our house, and then I will be bought out of my half of the equity. It's exciting to know that's coming my way, but it doesn't help my current situation. Um,
Oh.
and my second question was, what do you think is getting in the way of having great relationships? And I said, I think it's a mix of two things. The first being a lack of confidence in myself, brought on by breaking promises to myself repeatedly and not necessarily living true to my values as much as I would like to be. Secondly, I think that I have a hard time letting men step up in a relationship. I was raised by my mom and grandma, who were both very much the hyper independent, I don't need a man, you can do it all and better type of woman, which independence is great. But I desire a fulfilling relationship, and I feel like I get in the way of us when I try to do it all. Also, I don't want to do it all. That's exhausting. And then, what would a great relationship look like to you? A great relationship to me looks like a healthy mix of best friends, partners, and lovers. We know how to communicate well, repair hurts we needed when needed, and we share a big dream together for our future that we pursue together. When I think of a great relationship, some words that come to mind are honesty, transparency, trust, romance, love, connected, secure, fun, silly, laughter, adventure, and committed. And how would you want to feel in a healthy relationship? It's the last question. I said, I want to feel seen, heard, and loved in a healthy relationship. I want to feel like I am enough and that loving me is not a burden or hardship to endure, but a gift and a blessing to experience. I want to feel relaxed in myself and a sense of peace and security. Not to say that I expect the man to do everything. I definitely don't, but I would like to feel taken care of instead of being the one who always takes care of others.
So
And
powerful. Thank you for
then I
sharing
hopped on a
this.
call with Amy, and
Yeah.
the rest is history.
The rest is history. Do you remember, like, obviously going through that process? And, I think therapy brings us a lot of awareness. And then,
hmm
you find out about attachment styles, you learn about the
Yeah.
program. Like, what was that like for you getting on that call with Amy and then making a decision?
It was incredible. So I told her, so first, like those get sent in. So she'd already read all my answers.
Yes.
And then
Fun
she
fact, I
gets on
also
the call.
review the applications. I'm
Oh,
just
do
going to put
you?
it out there. Yes.
Awesome. I did not know that.
Uh-huh.
It makes sense that you do.
Yeah.
Um, but I got on the call with Amy and I was like, I've been in therapy for a while. I've been divorced for about a year. I have addressed a lot of things in therapy, but I feel like I'm starting to plateau. And I know that's where you come in and that's why you created this program, because you wanted this coaching program to bridge the gap so you can be able to coach women through healing through relationships, and whether that's familial or relational. I'll say, I know this is like a relationship program, but this program helped me first and foremost in my familial relationships with my mom, with my sisters, with my dad and my aunts, like everyone close to me in my family. I learned how to make those relationships safe for myself with setting boundaries. And I taken that relationship inventory and just moving through the program. I was addressing everything with family first because that's what was applicable at the time. I didn't have a partner. I wasn't dating.
Yeah.
Um, so it's so, what's the word? It translates into any area you want it to if you're willing to apply it there.
Yeah, transferable. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. I love that. So you were like, yep, it makes sense. I get it.
Mhm.
Obviously, you're an example of someone coming to us with a ton of awareness, and then also very, very motivated. And I think that
Mhm.
that is a lot of the people that, we have the good fortune of helping people who are really motivated. So I love that you were there and you were like, yep, I have awareness. I know I'm at point A. I want to get to point B. I
Mhm.
need I need to be able to get to that place where I'm ready to date in a healthy way
Mhm.
because I want a different result than
Mhm.
I just experienced in my divorce. You were like, "Nope, I don't want to do that again," right?
Mhm.
Um,
Absolutely.
and and I think that's my question for you because obviously divorce is challenging.
Yeah.
And I think going through that, what was that like for you emotionally? And how did you even kind of get to this place where you're like, okay, I might not be ready to date right now, but I
Mhm.
know I still want love because you and I both know this. Some people go through something so challenging as a divorce, and then they're just like, nope, I'm done.
Write it all off. Yeah.
Write it
That
all
makes me
off.
so sad.
Yeah. So what was that time like for you in your life, going through the divorce and then getting to that place where you're like, I can believe, I want to believe in love again?
Yeah, so it was wild. So this time in my life, I was not diagnosed with ADHD yet. Um, and really, when the divorce happens, my whole structures that had things working like well enough, my routines, they were wrapped up in another person, in my ex-husband. And that was enough like accountability, and I had enough like personal responsibility in our relationship that I could kind of like stick duct tape and band-aids on my life and like show up and be okay. And then when I was single and alone for the first time in a very long time in my life, at an age I never expected to be single, um, I like everything fell apart, but for the best, I would say. Like it was terrifying. at first, for sure. But then I got to rebuild and I got to focus on who is Zoe? Who am I? What do I want? What do I need? What am I interested in? What are my hobbies? Like, adults forget that like they can have hobbies and have fun and they don't have to monetize it and like be productive. Like you can go like scribble in a notebook and call it coloring and have a good time if that's what you want to do. And so I got into art therapy at the VA and I was doing therapy with at the VA as well. And got into like watercoloring and talking to other veterans. And a lot of veterans, unfortunately, have the experience of at least one divorce. And so it's like I was really, really pursuing community in any way I could find it. I found that a lot with my veteran community. I found that a lot in older sister communities. I found it like in my community in the city I live in and with my friends. I was very intentional on building that community because I knew I would need it. And I'm so glad I had that foresight before I got divorced to be so intentional because one, I needed the support, like making the decision. And then two, I had them to fall back on. And I think that's also a really hard thing for me to do. I always feel like I have to be in control and know what's going on and take command of the situation. And asking for help is still something I'm working on like today. And I'm getting
Yeah.
better and I'm like making progress, but it is something very deeply ingrained that like I believe I should be able to do it all myself. And
Mm,
that's not
mhm.
not true. So just like getting forced into that like transformation because the only way out is through and seeing who showed up for me and seeing like how I showed up for myself and like it was just so empowering, really.
Yeah.
And
Uh,
go ahead.
Well, I'm just thinking I kind of want to go back for a minute.
Mhm.
Um, because this is a really important question that I didn't ask you. How did you know that your marriage was over?
Mm.
And when was it over to you?
Um, I would say so we got divorced when I was 28. I would say around 26. I kind of like woke up and realized that I was in an emotionally abusive relationship. Um, my ex had an anger cycle that was like 6 to 12 months apart, so it was really easy to take the sorry, sweep it under the rug and like move on. And I did that for a very long time without realizing it. And then for whatever reason, something happened when like he exploded when I was 26. And I was like, I do not deserve to be treated like this. And I can't believe that I've let myself be treated like this. Because again, going back to my hyper independent mom and grandma, like I was like, I am never going to take abuse from a man. And they've both been in situations where that happens. And so but it's when it's not physical, it's so hard to identify until like something big has to happen. And it was like adult temper tantrums, punching holes in the wall, breaking spoons on the counter, yelling. Like, I'm like, how did I not see this sooner? But again, like you do the best you can with what you have at the time. And then I stuck it out for a couple years because when my parents got divorced, I told myself I would never get divorced. And so that was very deeply ingrained in me that I would never divorce my husband. I was going to figure out how to make it work. But you cannot save a relationship by yourself. Both partners have to be ready and willing to do the work. And unfortunately, I my ex wasn't ready and I was growing at an exponential pace. I was very excited. I was finding my groove. I was in a lot of like deep personal growth. And I think we grew apart. And so we grow apart, instead of like coming back together and growing together, we snapped like a rubber band. And, very unfortunate. But I mean, I do truly believe like relationships will last as long as they need to. And despite it being a marriage, like our relationship wasn't meant to last for a lifetime. And that's okay. I learned a lot about myself, good and bad.
Mhm.
I learned a lot about how I like to be in relationship and what I don't like. Um, I learned a lot about what I want and what I need and like how I want to show up for my partner. So I'm really grateful for the lessons and being able to reflect back. Um, but yeah, it was just one day he exploded and I said, "Holy crap." Like this isn't safe. This isn't a relationship I want to be in. And I do know one of the things that I did is I was like clinging to his potential. Like he was a great man. He was a great leader. He was a great soldier. He could show up everywhere. And I was like, okay, if he can show up there, why can't he show up for me? Like it's just a matter of time.
Mhm.
And that's not fair to either of us. It's not fair for you to take your partner and be like, look at the person you're going to become. Aren't they amazing? Instead of like, I love you, I choose you right now. And I'm excited to grow together, but despite however we grow, like I'm excited to be right here right now with you. And I don't I don't know where that came from, where that like potential projection like started. It may have been like within myself, like because I was having so much fun growing and I was so excited about my own growth. I'm like, look at who I'm going to become, and then look at who you could become if you did this with me. It's not
Mhm.
something I've reflected on a lot, but yeah. And then it got to the point where I'm like, as this is very difficult to say, but it's like if he would just hit me, I could get out. And that
Mm.
was when I was like, okay, this is not okay.
Yeah.
Like you can't, but I'm like, but just make it black and white. Give me a reason to go.
Yeah.
And that was a huge wake up call. And after that, like I was still clinging to it. I was still trying to make things work. I was like, what books do you want to read? Let's go to a marriage retreat. Let's do this. Let's do that. Let's read a book together and like talk about it. And let's do these anchor courses. And like I was so like, let me love you, let me help you. And I'm sure I smothered him. Like you that's way too much. Um, but I was young and I didn't know any better. And um, yeah, so it got to a point that I was like, okay, so let's work on our communication because clearly that's lacking. We need to communicate better. And this was 2 years later from that first instance where I like kind of woke up. And so we kind of make a date of it because I'm like, I'm not trying to blindside you. Let's do this the right way. I want to talk about our future and us, and let's make it fun. Let's go get like sandwiches and take him to the park, and like let's be adults about this. And then we're talking, and I'm like, okay, like you clearly want to say something, so like you can go first. And he just starts like dropping bombs on my life, and it was like, I don't want to do this. I don't like that we do this. I don't like want to be forced into this with you in like different areas and aspects of our life. And the last one was, I don't think I want kids anymore. And for me, at the time, that was a huge non negotiable for me. Like, I have wanted kids since I was 4 years old. You can ask my Aunt Mindy. She has a really funny story. And I knew I was going to be a mom. And I mean, thankfully, I've grown through that a little bit, but it was what it needed to be at the time because that was my non-negotiable. And I think I read it to you when we were getting ready here. I found my journal entry after that talk that we had, and I said, I will not compromise on wanting kids, and I
Mhm.
can't ask you to compromise and have them with me. So I want a divorce. And it was almost my script that I told to him when we met in public, and I told him I wanted a divorce. And and that is heavy because I haven't revisited this notebook since.
Yeah. Well, there's so much in what you're sharing, and I just want to thank you for being so vulnerable and for being willing to share. I know there's people listening who really
It's the
relate.
name of the show.
Yes, it is. And I think one of the pieces that really grabbed me was, that younger version of you that was experiencing the emotional abuse, that was really, really struggling, but in a way kind of invalidating that and
Yeah.
sort of going, well, if he would just hit me, then I could definitely leave. I think
Then
that's
it would
something
be
that
real.
then it would be real. Then it would be black and white.
Mhm.
That's actually something that so many people, whether they realize it or not, they're finding ways to invalidate the
Yeah.
emotional abuse and saying, "Oh, it's not that big of a deal. They were really
Mhm.
struggling with XYZ. They were really struggling at work." And
I
it's
should have
like,
known better than to start the
I
conversation when he got
yes,
home from work.
they blame it on themselves. So
Mhm.
there's all this invalidation that can happen with emotional abuse.
Mhm.
But I love that you were able to tune into yourself, and yes, it took you tuning into the non-negotiable, and you were
Mhm.
able to say, "Look, I'm done with this relationship." So,
Yep.
I think it's obviously the decision that has opened you up to really come home to yourself and to break
Yes.
this pattern of the
Mhm.
over functioning, of the over giving, right? You described that in the marriage of trying to fix it and do all the things,
Mhm.
and that was what your nervous system was used to, right? That's
Mhm.
what your brain said a relationship was
Yep.
showing up and over giving for people.
Mhm.
So to really intentionally break that pattern and then get into therapy, and then I want to fast forward, you find yourself in the
Mhm.
program.
Yep.
Can you tell us a little bit about some of your biggest aha moments or the lessons that really, really helped you as you were
Yes.
going through the program? And
Oh
just like
man.
what was it like to do that work?
Yeah, it was hard.
I
Like
love the honesty.
I had done a year and a half of therapy beforehand, and I was still in therapy while I was going through the program. And I was still, like, struggling. I would say my biggest one, and I put this in here too. I'm like, "Do not avoid writing your letters," because that I avoided it the entire program. I didn't do them. I just skipped it.
Yeah.
I was so scared to face that part of myself that needed to accept what had happened and process it and let it go. And it didn't feel safe to let go. It felt like if I let it go, like it's going to happen again, or I don't know what it
Mm.
really was internally. Um,
And for the
but the
audience,
letter,
Zoe's talking about the repetition compulsion
yes.
part of the program where we have you
Mhm,
really face your significant relationships and what happened. And it's a very transformative part of the program, but also a lot of emotional labor.
mhm, very.
Um, and I love your honesty about the fact that the program is hard. I think that's important because we have to realize that if we want to get a different result, if we want
Mhm.
transformation, then
You have to do something you haven't done.
there's going to be things that are challenging, right? So
Yeah.
I love that acknowledgement. But so you
Yeah, but the
avoided the
letters,
letters, and we
I
know
avoided them
I
for the
eventually
entire
called you
pro
out.
You did at the retreat, wasn't it? Or was it before?
Yeah. I think it might have been on a group call. I called you out the first time when we were on a
Yeah.
group coaching call, and then you
Okay.
still hadn't done
I
them when
still
you came
avoided
to
them.
the
I was like,
retreat.
yeah.
So then
And
I was like,
and so
"Okay,
this
Zoe,
was
you're gonna do it."
September 25th to December 25th, 2023 was when I did the program. And it wasn't until March 2024 that I wrote my letters.
That's the power of staying in the community and making
It
sure that
is.
you got the
Yeah.
whole transformation. I'm so
Mhm.
glad that you knew that you needed that because everybody's different in their journey. Everybody has
Yeah.
their own process. Like, we let people take the time they need, and you
Mhm.
needed that extra time, and that's okay.
Yeah.
But what happened when you finally did do that exercise?
Oh my god. I was outside with my roommate during the retreat, shout out Donna. Um, and we were going through the forgiveness exercise. And she was crying and I was crying, and I was like, "Oh my god, like, I have to write my letters right now." And I think part of the exercise was forgiveness based in, like, the letter format,
Yeah.
and I think it was
Mhm.
before the forgiveness module was added to
Yeah.
module 2 or exercise. And I was like, "Oh my god, this is the structure I needed to be able to outline a letter and write it out." And it was so powerful, like 2 tons of bricks off my chest and shoulders and
Mhm.
all this weight I've been carrying, and, just, like, the emotional tie that was still there between me and my ex. It was one of the most powerful, letters I wrote was to him, and then I even wrote one to myself.
Good.
Um, but the
Yes.
version of me who got married really young at 20 and accepted the first guy that loved her or said he did. Like, I was so desperate to be loved and cherished that whoever like showed me or talked to like enough of a good game, like I was like, okay, like I choose you. And so I wrote my letter to that version of her, and and that was really, really powerful too. And that was I think that was my biggest breakthrough, like, in the program, even though it was months afterwards.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense to me of just not carrying around the unfinished business of
It's not
those
my
past
job.
relationships. Yeah,
It's
and
not
not carrying
anybody's job.
around the blame and the guilt and the shame that you had towards your younger self
Mhm.
too. So, so powerful. And I think about your story. I think so many people listening see themselves in it. And of course I do as well, where it's like you had emotionally unavailable parents
Mhm.
in different ways, you
Yeah,
know, and we know it's not their fault. We're not here blaming them.
absolutely.
They didn't have
Mm-mm,
that
not at
either.
all.
They were doing the best that they could,
Mhm.
but the best that they could do was still emotionally unavailable. So then, of course, you find yourself repeating that pattern,
Mhm.
getting into the marriage with someone who, you know, says that they love you because you're so, so craving it, but then realizing that this is someone who also can't really show up
Mhm.
in the way that you need
Yeah.
to.
Well, and
Um,
ultimately, like, he wasn't showing up for himself in a lot of
right.
ways, so how could I have expected him to do that for me?
Isn't
And
that the
also
truth
all
for
of the
people?
pressure of, like, I want my partner to meet my needs, but there are so many of our needs that we can meet ourselves or outsource to our friends or our community or, like, hobby groups, reading groups, whatever you're interested in. Like, you can have different people fill different needs. So it's not all on your partner. Cause how is that fair? But I didn't know that then. Like, no one had talked about that yet. Like, it was like, if your partner can't fulfill your needs, they're not good enough for you. And
Yeah.
that's not fair. That's way too much pressure for one person.
There's all these things that, you know, 20-year-old Zoe was just doing the best that she could
Mhm. Yeah.
at the time. And I think realizing that you have to forgive yourself. There's so many people who are listening to the show who have had some really tough relationship experiences, and maybe they're even
Mhm.
in them right now. And I
Mm.
know Zoe and I are sending you so much love if that's the case, because
Mhm.
we get it. We've been there.
Yep.
But you're in these tough experiences and you're just blaming yourself and you're beating yourself up and you're saying, why am I doing this? And so
Yeah.
and so has such a healthy marriage and look at that person and
Mhm.
all my friends are getting married and here I am
Yeah.
in these toxic relationships and you're
Mm.
just beating yourself up and that
Yeah.
is not the answer. The
No.
the
You
answer
can't
is
shame yourself into growth.
no. You have to get to the roots of where did that trauma come from? Where
Mhm.
did those patterns come from?
Mhm.
And then how can we love on it enough, forgive it enough that then
Mhm.
we get to open up space to
Yeah.
choose differently? And that's actually one thing I really want to shout you out about, Zoe, is that as you were going through this program and doing this work, you were all in it, besides taking your time to write the letter, but you were like fully committed, all in it, showing up, making it a priority. And then you also really intentionally made this space in your dating life. Like you were not
Mm.
dating for
No.
long periods of time. And it was like,
Nice.
I
Year and a
am dating
half.
Zoe. I am
Yeah.
working
That's
on me.
that's exactly what I said, yeah. I'm, like, so grateful for the version of myself at 28 that was like, "You just need some time alone." Because a lot of people get divorced and they jump right back into another relationship that's just like the one they left. So, like, thank God that I had that foresight that I'm like, "Okay, Zoe, no, like, pause. Like, it's okay. I have such a hard time, like, accepting timelines." And that was one of them. Because at the time I was like, when am I going to have kids? I was supposed to have them a year ago. I wanted to be a mom at 27. And so already I was off my timeline. And
Right.
then the divorce happened. And I'm like, oh, great. Now I have to start all over. And like, I could have very easily like found myself in another relationship and started having kids and like building a family. Like that, luckily at the time wasn't as important as acknowledging what had happened in my marriage, taking responsibility for the part that I played in it, and learning how I can show up differently and better. And like, and taking the good too, because we had some really good moments, like amazing memories. We were in Korea together. We traveled a lot together, like so many fun times. So it's like, what was so good about those parts that I really value in relationship experiences, quality time, like, um and being able to, yeah, just take that, sit with it for a year and a half, Despite me being like, all right, well, I'm getting older, which never anymore. I'm like so much in an I don't care, like whatever anyone
Thrown
has
the
to say.
timeline
Like,
out the window.
yeah,
Yes.
it's like if I feel good about it and it's aligned with me, like that's all that matters. If you want to tell me any different, like go ahead, but in one ear and out the
Yeah.
other. Like, but
I love it.
yeah,
No,
yeah.
and I just want to pause for a second. You said something so important. I don't want people to miss it that when you're grieving, when you're practicing forgiveness, when you're letting go of a past relationship, it's really helpful to see the whole picture,
Yeah.
right? Some people are just focusing on the pain, the hurt, the way that
Hmm.
they were hurt, the ways that their partner was terrible to them. And all those things are valid, but to actually fully let something go and to fully grieve it, we
Hmm.
also have to acknowledge the good. So
Yeah.
your willingness to sit in it and to grieve it fully allows you to fully then let it go and to fully make the
Hmm.
space. So really, really powerful. I I I feel like I know how this story kind of ends, but the audience doesn't. So let's take them to your dating life. Okay. Let's fast forward to that. How like what did you learn in the program? And I guess also like how you were showing up, like learning how to be secure, etc. How did you take that and then apply it to your dating life? Like what was different about dating this time around? Oh shoot, Zoe. I think we lost your audio.
You here?
Yes.
Oh no, technical difficulties. Sorry.
All good. Go for it. So yeah,
Excuse me.
what was different about dating this time as the secure Zoe?
Yes. Okay. So it was being able to learn my non-negotiables and being so very clear on those, what I valued and how I wanted to live my life and making sure I was doing that before I even like entertained dating anybody. I really, really worked so hard to create a life I love and a life that like yeah you can get stuck in the day to day but ultimately like I really enjoy my life, I really enjoy my circle and my family and my friends, and I've done a lot to create such a fulfilling life that it's like I was so happy alone, which was
Yeah.
insane coming from codependency and people pleasing and like my childhood where I'm like I used to not be able to drive in the car without calling someone. And typically it was my mom or my sisters. But every time I got in the car, I was like calling someone and just like, let's hang out because I don't want to be alone with my thoughts. And it was crazy. It was so insane that it's like,
Yeah. So you
that's
start
where I
enjoying.
started. And I grew into like, I cherish my alone time. I love spending time with myself. Sometimes I prefer it. And it is so crazy to like see that transformation because that's not something I ever believed would happen. Like, not that I really thought about it. Like, oh, one
If,
time,
and
like in the future, I'm going to like being alone.
if we go a level deeper here, because you know I can't resist,
Let's,
um, I think what this says to me, it's also indicative of you having really high self-worth and healing those worthiness
yes.
wounds. And so then you're no longer
Hmm.
outsourcing your
Hmm.
validation, your self-soothing, you're no longer
Yeah.
outsourcing that to other people,
Hmm.
right? So it's like,
Big time. Yeah. It's my self respect, my self trust. I show up for myself. I am, what is the word? I'm only thinking in Spanish right now. Uh, but I'm accountable to myself. So
yeah,
I'm doing all these things that like, this is how I would want to behave. Like I was literally in relationship with myself and like learning to spend time alone with just me and like taking myself for walks and taking myself for dinner and like learning like how to really enjoy myself because I am a goddamn delight. Like I am
yes,
so fun and I love who I am, and like being able to like dig up and throw away those like limiting beliefs of unworthiness and performance and everything that was holding me back. It is so crazy to look back and think that I was confident back then because I was nowhere near my level of confidence now. And sounds really cocky and gross, but like I just really I know who I am. I know what I want and I'm willing to get it and do what I need to do to make it happen. And there is so much trust in myself that I've built in that because I did stop self-abandoning. I started showing up. I started setting like little tiny, like even a bedtime goal. Like I'm going to go to bed by 9 p.m. and I'm going to be asleep by 10 because I need X amount of hours for sleep. And like that's how I can take care of myself in like this moment, because I mean there was a lot of depression in my divorce and coming out of that. And some days, like really honestly, some days like you just want to lay in bed and not do anything and not think about anyone and just avoid all of the pain and all of the daunting like things that you know you need to do and work on. And so yeah, I had my fair share of those. And so it's just very, very exciting to see that
Yeah.
like growth. And then
And
yeah, just creating the life I want to live so that like no one's filling a hole.
yeah,
Like
nobody's filling the
we're
void.
coming together. And like you say all the time, the relationship's the third entity.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, Zoe, one thing that I remember as you were going through this process and kind of sharing with us and sharing with
Mhm,
me some of the details, you took your time before you were dating again.
mhm,
But then when you were dating, and I think especially on like the apps, I just
mhm,
remember you were not afraid to say what was important to you, to
mhm.
say how things made you feel,
Yeah.
to end a connection if it didn't feel in
Mhm.
alignment. I mean, you were really, really good at
Yeah.
embodying secure, assertive communication
Thank
and
you.
like
Yeah.
and no longer wasting your time because to me
Mhm.
that is like the biggest gift when you're dating, when you can get to that place where you're
Yeah.
so in tune with yourself, you're not self-abandoning, you're communicating what you want, you're just not
Mhm.
wasting time on people that are not in alignment.
Well, and it was your mentality reframe that helped when you call us data scientists or whatever, dating
Yes,
scientists.
the love scientist,
Love
yes.
scientists, yes. So it's like I was literally I'm like, "Bet, human experiment, let's go. This is gonna be so much fun." I love psychology. I love, like, knowing how people's minds work. I love getting to know people, if you can't tell. And so, yeah, I was really actually very fortunate to the very first guy I matched with off of Bumble, like right at like I think I created my profiles at the retreat, if not like the next week in
Yeah.
March of 24. Um, and the very first guy I dated, like we connected really well. We communicated really well. I was able to like have like respectful, assertive communication. I knew my boundaries. Um, and we were having a great time. And like at first I was really upset and annoyed because I had a series of guys I dated and it all like they all ended on the third date or after the third date we were like kind of done. But it was every time that happened was because a non-negotiable was presented. So the first time we weren't compatible spiritually, which is okay. Like I fully believe that you can believe whatever you want, but I personally need a partner that has some sort of spiritual belief. It can be whatever religion. I don't know. Okay, I'm not going to get there. But it can be like just some
Some sort of belief
spirituality.
in a higher
Yes,
power.
yes. And like I just like there for me personally, there's no way that this was just done and there's nothing
Yeah.
else. And so
So
I'm
an
like,
atheist is someone that is not gonna align with you
not a
spiritually, and that's
partner for me.
yeah,
Yeah. And
I get
that's
it.
that's who I dated first. And he was great. And like he asked me on our third date, we were out to dinner and he goes, "Okay, so I know on your profile it says you're Christian, but how important is that to you? Because I don't believe in anything." And I'm like, "Well, do you believe in nothing or like you're just like unsure?" Like, I'll take unsure. Like, and he's like, "No, I don't believe in anything." And I was like, "Okay." And this was before I really kind of like talked to myself about my where I stand with religion and everything. And I was like, well, like, I don't know, like, I don't think it's that important. So like I reverted back to people pleasing because I was anxious and I could feel like this would be something that pulled us apart. And I think that's the beauty too of the program is like, yes, we all work towards secure attachment, but that doesn't mean that something will never happen again that makes us insecure. Like that's never going to happen. But we have the tools now to walk through it. And so at the time at the dinner, I told him kind of what he wanted to hear because I didn't know how to do it any differently. But then I was thinking about it and I journaled about it and I was like, I messaged him and I was like, "Hey, can we hop on a phone call because you deserve a better answer than I gave you the other night?" And we called and we talked. And again, like he just reconfirmed for me, like he's atheist. And I was like, okay, unfortunately, like I can't be with an atheist. Like that's like not something.
Yeah. It
And he's like, "Do you want a couple days to think about it?" And I was like, "If I thought it would change my mind, of course, but like it's not fair to either of us to just like hope." And like, but it ended so well and mutually respectful, and that was my first dating experience. And then the next one, the guy showed up in sweatpants and couldn't open a door for someone in a wheelchair, and it was horrible. And I'm
Oh,
just like,
no.
and he was sleeping in and got up late because he played video games all night. And
Oh,
then
no.
he's like, "Oh, I got to go home and change because I'm meeting my friends for wine tasting." And I was like, "Oh, but you can come to a first date in sweatpants?"
My
And it was
goodness.
that was crazy. And then yeah, just another guy I dated. We were dating. We get to the third date. It's great. He's great the entire time. And then um at the time I was reading the book Me and White Supremacy, and we were talking about that. And he said, systemic racism isn't real. And I said, okay, well, that's something fundamental that I cannot agree with you on. And um, and then he said, good luck being embarrassed for being white. And that was that. And I was like, okay, well, thank you for identifying yourself
Wow.
very early
Wow.
on. Like, and again, it's not like I want to invest time in the people that like I connect with, but if it's it's so powerful and empowering to know yourself so well that these things come out naturally and pretty early on, that like you
Yeah.
can identify them, and it's like, okay, like I wish you the best. I wish you a happy life, but we are not a match. And it was great getting to know you. Like, goodbye. But
What you're describing, Zoe, is dating from a place of secure attachment so
mm,
that then you're able to explore compatibility.
yeah.
When we're showing up with an insecure style, we have that rocky foundation. We don't even have a secure foundation. So then
Hmm.
it's really hard to explore compatibility. By showing up with that secure foundation, then of course you're talking about compatibility and you have abundance mindset and you know that there
Hmm.
are people that are in alignment with you.
Yeah.
So you're not self-abandoning. You're not saying,
Hmm.
"Oh, I'm going to do whatever it takes to make the relationship work." You're saying,
Yeah.
"Hey, I'm going to be honest about who I'm compatible with, and if we're not
Hmm.
compatible, then let's invest our energy elsewhere, right?" So
Yeah.
I love
Well,
this.
it was also like I don't need a relationship to like do anything for me. Like I want to be a partner because I value like being in partnership and being in relationship with others. And and so for me, it was like, I'm happy alone. Like, if you don't align with me, like, that's okay. And I know that because I exist and I have all the love in me that I have to give, there's at least one person in this world that will match that and like be compatible. And so it was literally only a matter of time and dates, really, that I would meet him. And I think I did.
Let's fast forward. So now you're in a newly formed healthy relationship.
Hmm.
And what was different about, I guess I want to say, like, how that felt in your body,
Yeah.
um and just like how you knew, like, okay, yeah, I really want to
Mhm.
invest in this.
Yeah, so that for me, like from the first date, I because I've been doing the self check-in exercise a
Good.
lot. So now it
Good.
just happens automatically. And so I was doing it after our first date and kind of during too. But I was like, I feel so safe, like so calm, so at peace. I've never felt this. I don't even know how to describe it. Like it was so incredible to feel like I could just completely be exactly as I am. And I mean, I've really embraced authenticity and like honesty like in my growth. And so I'm kind of my idea here is like I'm going to show up exactly as I am. And if that doesn't work for you, then you don't work for me. Like that's okay. And so, but I felt so safe to do so. And like nothing I did, like I snort when I laugh. And I I was just being myself. And I like, nothing was getting like checked twice in my head. Like, oh, like maybe I shouldn't have done that. Or, ooh, did I say too much? Like It was so good, and we communicate so well, and we really had an instant connection that I have had with maybe 2 or 3 people in my life, and all women. I've never had a connection like this with a man, and I was like, "Oh, this is something different." And, like, I couldn't describe it, I just knew, like, I felt very connected to him. I felt like we shared a lot of life events, similar hardships, military, like all these different things.
Yeah.
And he's ADHD too. And so it's like one of the biggest things for me, I was like, oh my God, he gets my brain. And I don't get yelled at for not being able to make a
Oh,
decision. Like he can look at me and be like, he's like, oh, like, where do you want to go eat? And I'll be like, I don't know. And I kind of like freeze because it's like at the moment, for whatever reason, a decision is too much. And he's like, oh, you don't want to make decisions right now. He's like, okay, so like, do you want this or this? And he just automatically goes into like, let's give you two options and pick one. There's no wrong answer. And
yes.
I've
You're
never had that safety in a relationship, not even with myself. He's teaching me things and like showing up for myself and like my relationship with myself. Like, I don't have to, like, I chronically beat myself up. I'm working on it. But like, he has given me so much grace and so much space to like be myself in the 6 months we've known each other. And
amazing, Zoe.
we even went into a decision where it's like, okay, like maybe it's not the best time, but we still want to be friends. And that was back in January. And we did that for a while. And I mean, we were great friends. And I mean, I really like him a lot. And so then we got to a point where we were blurring lines. And I was like, okay, well, these are boundaries that we've set and we're not adhering to them. So if we're going to be like physically intimate, like we need to either choose to be friends and reset and be like really strict with our boundaries together, or we can pursue what this is going to look like in relationship. And I was like, you
Yeah.
know what I want to do, clearly. And we had a great talk. I mean, 2, 3 hours, and we just like let it all out. And we always talk about how much we appreciate each other and how much we just create so much safety for each other in our relationship. Like we value communication, we value friendship, we value honesty and trust. And really that's what our relationship is getting built on. And that's like foundation of friendship, and then all of those things layered on top. And I never I don't want to say never, but it's like I didn't think a relationship like this was possible. And it's currently brand new. Like beginning of this month brand new. And
Yeah. And I just want to shout you out because I think, obviously getting to see you go through this process
yeah.
in this relationship, I think the thing that's been clear is the open, honest, direct communication
Mhm.
about what do we need? What do we want? What are we feeling? Is
Yeah.
this relationship in alignment? What does it look like? What are the boundaries? I mean, I have watched you be incredibly intentional, incredibly
Mhm.
thoughtful, and then being willing to have those conversations with a partner. And then kudos to him also being willing to show up in those conversations and be reflective and intentional and really think about what he
Mhm.
wants and what he has capacity
Mhm.
for. So I think it's beautiful to see, once again, the secure foundation.
Mhm.
When you have that, then everything else is so much more fun. It's
Yeah.
like, what do we
And it
want to do
was
together? What adventures we want to go on? Like,
yeah.
right? It's like then the relationship gets to be about that kind of stuff
Mhm.
instead of like, oh, what army do do they really like me or not? Or oh my gosh, they're not
Yeah.
responding. You know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
you just get to have fun and enjoy each
Yeah.
other because you have a secure foundation.
Mhm. And it was ultimately for me, it was being able to trust him with my vulnerability,
Oh, it's
because
beautiful.
I don't think I've ever done that with especially the opposite sex, with men.
Yeah.
And so that's another like kind of serendipitous thing. Like you can do so much growth for yourself, and then there's also so much growth you can't do outside of a relationship because it's
Yep.
going to bring up different things for you. And
Absolutely.
yeah, and then I was like, okay, like full send, like I'm gonna be vulnerable. We've created enough safety that I feel like he's gonna like listen to what I have to say. And I just kind of like let it all out. And I was like, look, like, and again, like I told him I used to project potential on my ex. And that's something I do not want to do here. And that's something I'm being very like cognizant of. And like, he's got a lot going on. And I'm like, I am very well aware of everything you have going on. And I choose you like right now. Like,
Yeah, that's
I don't
beautiful.
care where we grow because we both like to grow and work on ourselves. But it's like right now, like, I want to be here right now, like right here with you. And like, I
Mm,
need you to trust that. And that's really hard too, because like, not very many experiences for him on that side. So
yeah.
we're having all these positive corrective experiences together. And that is so much fun.
Yeah, the corrective emotional experiences together
Yes.
and you being vulnerable with him, him being vulnerable with
Hmm.
you, the reciprocal vulnerability, the
Yeah.
reciprocal emotional safety, right? I mean, you're describing the secure relationship. Um, and obviously I'm very excited for you. And I think, I always want listeners to realize like when I interview clients who have found a relationship, that is just the bonus. It is
Hmm.
like the cherry on top
Yeah.
of becoming the secure version of you. It is not the goal, right? It's like the
No.
goal is the regulated
Becoming.
nervous system, the
Hmm.
really healthy beliefs about yourself, the really healthy beliefs about relationships, being able to show up secure and navigate
Hmm.
relationships well. And then it's kind of like this whole thing of, well, of course you're going to become a match for a healthy
Yeah.
relationship. Of course, a healthy relationship will come to you, but it's
Hmm.
not like, we're sitting here being like, oh, you're only successful if you get the guy. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I just love
And
that it's
not the
like,
goal.
you got to this place where you were so, so happy with your life, the life you'd created, the way that you felt, right? And then it's like,
Hmm.
of course, this comes into your life because you became a match for it. But you
Yeah.
were never like, oh, I have to be in a relationship and I'm gonna make it
Mm-mm.
work. And
No.
so I think that's such an important distinction that when we focus on becoming secure, then we can
Hmm.
easily attract in the right relationship
Yeah.
instead of, ooh, I have to be in a relationship, and then
Because
we
you're
lose
not
sight of what
worried.
really matters, which is, yeah, it's like who do you become? That's what really
Yeah.
matters.
Yeah. And it's, yeah, that like confidence transformation really is so
Yeah.
huge because you do gain the skills to show up, especially for yourself, which I think is where a lot of my transformation and work happened. But yeah, you're not worrying about what do they think about me or am I good enough or whatever. Like, I innately know I am worthy of love. I know that I am really fun and really loving and like I am like a joy to be around. And like to someone that is pre-programmed, that's going to sound really cocky and arrogant, and I promise you like that is not where my heart is. And like if you could see the transformation, like who I was pre-program to now, like I do not recognize that girl. And that is insane to say because that was 2-3 years ago.
Yeah. It's
And
beautiful to watch, Zoe, and just, yeah, seeing how much you've changed. Um, and obviously you get out of it what you put into it, and you are someone
yes,
who
I say
has
that a
really
lot.
shown up and you've continued with it too, which I think
Mhm.
is beautiful. It is lifelong work. It's like, okay,
Mhm.
you have lifetime access to all of the program
Yeah.
materials for a reason. There's
Hmm.
stuff that I still revisit every single year
Yeah.
that I go and do.
Module 2.
It's like it's a lifelong commitment. I want to ask you, Zoe, we have people listening who
Hmm.
I'm sure they have heard me talk about the program before and
Yeah.
they're like on the fence. They're like, should I do it? Would it actually work for me? I don't
Yeah.
know. So, like, what would you say to that person who's been on the fence, who's wondering if
Mhm.
this is the thing for them to do?
So, what I wrote down last night is the best investment you can ever make is in yourself. And this program did that for me. Investing in this program and participating in this program and investing in myself and my growth and my life has created this incredible life I'm living today that I would not have without the program. I can say that very confidently. I don't know where I would be. There's a very crazy alternate universe Zoe that did not go through the program and is probably like miserable, still dealing with self worth issues, still not thinking she's good enough, still accepting breadcrumbs of love. Like, no, like it's insane. And like, you are so worthy and deserving of the life that you want to live. And whatever that looks like, however you want to create your life, like you deserve to have that. And we are like wildly responsible and wildly capable of making our dreams come true. We just have to have a little courage. And if you don't believe that yet for yourself, please hear it in my voice right now. You are so worthy. You deserve to do the work. You can do the work. Is it going to be hard? Yes. Is it going to be worth it? Absolutely. Like dividends are going to come from the work that you do in this program. And again, I will say, like, you get out of it what you put into it. Um, be ready to engage, be ready to be on the Facebook community, be ready to be in group calls. Like, you learn so much from the other women in this program, and being able to show up for people in the program. Like, when I was further along and I was engaging with women in their first week, that was crazy for me because I'm like, I mean, also, I'm like 30 and like talking to women sometimes in their 40s or older, or even younger in their like younger 20s. And it's so crazy that I can be a voice. Like, I never expected that. And that's a blessing for me to be able to show up for others. And so, yeah, absolutely worth it. If you're thinking about it, sign up for that call. Don't like try to do it like 5 times like I did and then ultimately do it. Like, do it today. Like, sign up for the call. Maybe talk to Amy. She's amazing. Like, it is so worth it. This program has changed my I'm probably like the mascot of the program. I think we said
We've
that at our
decided you're
last
the
group call.
mascot.
Like,
Yeah, you're
I
so
can't say enough good things about this. If you have questions, I'm so happy to answer them. Like, it is so life-changing. It's completely changed the course of my life. It's changed the course of generations that come after me. Like,
yeah.
this is like I am breaking generational curses now that I wouldn't have had the tools to before.
That's so beautiful, Zoe. Thank you so much for sharing. And it's been really, really meaningful for me to see your
Mm,
transformation and to see the way that you give back to people who are in the community, who are in the group. I think people don't expect that. A lot of people who join the program, they're like, oh, yeah, sure, there's a group call. But you
mm,
don't realize how much healing can come from being in that community
yeah.
and, supporting people as they're going through things and hearing, other people's stories that you relate to. And then
Mhm.
you sharing and being vulnerably seen by a group of other women and then getting all of their support, right? It's like,
Yeah.
wow, there's a lot of healing that also happens in
Yeah.
community. And you've
Teaching
been a beautiful
yourself there's safety in showing up.
yeah, safety and showing up. Exactly. And you've been a beautiful example of that, of someone who's shown up consistently. And we have a lot of people who they prioritize it, they come and they are a major part of the community and you're one of
Mm.
those people.
Thank you.
Um I am aware of just how much of your story we haven't even had time to probably talk about. We could be here another 3 hours. Um
Another 3 days.
Yeah, a 3-day long seminar with Zoe. One of the really cool things is in all of your healing and work, you are now also working on your own brand, which I've been really fortunate to help you
Yeah.
with. So at some point in the future, we will have you back on the podcast and we'll be talking about the exciting things that you are doing. But
Mhm.
I brought that up because I want people to see this, that when you heal, when you let go of all of those old,
Mhm.
painful beliefs about yourself that aren't true,
Mhm.
when you're stepping into secure relationships and a regulated nervous system, that also opens you up to go after whatever you really want to do and be
Yeah.
creative and have the
Mhm.
capacity to launch something new. So you are an example of that, of healing enough to then go, well, hey, I really want to put this cool thing out into the world, right? And like when we're in survival mode, we can't do that.
There's no room.
So I'm shouting you out that you're at that place of getting to create something. And once again, you'll come back on the show when it's
Yeah.
ready to be
So
shared.
excited to share
Yeah.
it.
And we'll talk about it. But it's a beautiful example of healing and then having that capacity to create something that you really want to do.
I'm
Yeah.
so grateful for everything. You've had such a hand in my growth and my capacity to be able to get to where I am. And I can't tell you how grateful I am for like the impact you've had on my life in just a couple years that we've known each other. And I mean, I did the program and I didn't even do a call with you because I was trying to be strategic. I
I
was
know, it's
like,
so funny.
Dr. Morgan like gets booked up for one-on-ones. Like, I'm gonna talk to all the other coaches, then I'll talk to her after I graduate. Like, I was so strategic. So I didn't even know you during the program really. And then to be able to get where we are now, I consider you a very wonderful mentor and friend. And I'm so, so grateful, yeah, for our relationship.
Yes, and I am as well. It's really meaningful. Um, this was a really powerful conversation. I do want to ask you because I just think you have so much that you want to share with people. Is there anything that you didn't get to say in terms of words of encouragement or something you would want the audience to know? It could even
Mm.
just be like your favorite life advice of the moment. You know, I always ask that question, but what would you want the audience to know?
Oh, so much. I think there's like there's too many things to say.
Just throw you on the spot. I know.
Oh, I want the audience to know that it's possible. Whatever it is that they want, whatever she's working towards, whatever she's too scared for ask for, whatever she's denying herself, whatever she's not letting herself believe, like this growth is possible. All you have to do is choose you. And again, remember that you're so worthy and deserving of this and be brave enough to take the leap and know that on the other side, like you've got a community to catch you. You're not
Mhm.
in this alone.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. When we're growing, sometimes we feel like we're having to grieve relationships
Mhm.
and people, but realizing that you grow into a whole new community.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
powerful, Zoe. Thank you so much for coming on. Let's get vulnerable. Obviously, I will put your contact in the show notes in case somebody is like, let me just, talk to Zoe and see her experience in the program, So
Yeah.
I'll put your contact in the show notes. You can connect with
Okay.
Zoe on Instagram. Um, but it is just such a pleasure to be your mentor, to hold space for you to tell your story. Thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
And of course, as always, Zoe and I are wishing you high self worth and great relationships. I'll talk to you soon.